You don't become what you want, you become what you're around. Welcome back. This show is for entrepreneurs who want more than just money. Yes, we want to build wealth, but we also want to become better leaders. We refuse to sacrifice our marriage, our kids, our health, and our purpose to get there. Because real success, it isn't just measured by what's in your bank account. It's measured by the impact you make, the people you lead, and the family you're building along the way. Build wealth, lead better, win at home. Let's get started. If you were watching me on YouTube today, you'd see that I am still in my gym clothes. Like literally, this day is gonna be like run. But I'm like, I have to get this podcast out. This is one that I believe in so much. If I could say anything, I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not the one that goes to college and had a big successful business career in working for corporate America as someone's CEO, or have a business college degree or an MBA or any of that matter. No. So today, how was I able to accomplish what I've been able to accomplish? So most people think their future is determined by just their talent. Yes, you got to have skills. Yes, you got to get better. I understand that. They think it's determined by luck. They think it's determined by opportunity. But if I've learned anything over the years from building businesses, from leading teams, from being around high performers and studying successful people, it's this: your future is being shaped right now by 4 invisible forces. And here they are. It's your conversations, it's your relationships, it's your environment, and it also is your standards. Every single day, these 4 things are either pulling you towards your future or keeping you anchored to your past. I call it the law of proximity. You guys, you have to pay attention to this. Get your notepads. This is one I want you to really write down. I want you to be thinking about, and I want you to consider how you apply these forces into your life for the better. And here's the principle. You don't become what you want. You become what you're around. Hear that again. You don't become what you want. You become what you're around. So let's talk about it. The first force is conversations. And here's what I've learned. The conversation you tolerate becomes the thoughts you think. So every conversation leaves a deposit. Some conversations create belief, some create doubt, some create vision, some create fear. The average person spends years listening to people talk about problems, talk about, in this world nowadays, about politics, about drama, about gossip, about complaints, and everything that's wrong with the world. You guys know what we're talking about. If you just go on social media, log into your Facebook account, you will see that it is very easy, even for someone like myself, to log in and almost like start absorbing all of the conversations, because it seems like 8 out of 10 posts are political or dramatic or gossip or making fun of some division that's going to be happening in our nation. You guys, it's easy to get caught up into bad conversations. But when you do that, you can't wonder why you're not growing, why you're not inspired, why you're not moving forward. Because eventually what you're listening to becomes what you're thinking. And what you're thinking becomes what you're believing, and what you're believing becomes how you're living. I've always believed this. The quality of your future is hidden inside the quality of your conversations. And I want you to think about your closest circle right now. What do you talk about? Do you talk about vision? Do you talk about growth? Do you talk about leadership? Do you talk about faith? Do you talk about business? Do you talk about becoming better? Or do you spend most of your time talking about what everyone else is doing? Because eventually those conversations become your thoughts, and your thoughts become your actions, and your actions become your life. So here's a challenge for the next 7 days. Eliminate every unnecessary negative conversation. Stop feeding gossip. Stop entertaining complaints. Stop participating in conversations that don't move you toward the future you're trying to create. Watch what happens to your mindset if you're willing to take on this little challenge. The second force, it's relationships. And this one is huge, because relationships are destiny. Most people choose relationships based on comfort. Successful people, and everyone I've known, and just even in my own life, successful people choose relationships based on growth. You can spend 10 years reading books about leadership, or you can spend 1 year around great leaders. You can spend years trying to figure out business, or spend months around people who've already built what you're trying to build and get there so much faster. Why? Because proximity to the right people, it compresses time. The reason mentorship is so powerful isn't because mentors have information. Information's everywhere, right? Especially now with AI and all the easy way to access information. Information's everywhere. The reason mentorship Even in this world of AI, when we think, oh, I'm just going to go learn from ChatGPT, or I'm going to go learn from all these other sources that have AI. The reason mentorship is powerful is because mentors have standards. They think differently, they operate differently, they lead differently. And eventually, if you're close enough, long enough, you'll start doing the exact same thing that they're doing. Every relationship in your life is either multiplying your future or maintaining your present. Now listen carefully. Not everybody in your life, not everyone in there that you're surrounded with is bad. Not everyone needs to go. Some people are just simply committed to a different future than you are. You don't have to judge them. You don't have to resent them, but you cannot build an extraordinary future while surrounding yourself exclusively with people committed to average. Even Jesus chose his circle intentionally. Not everybody got the same level of access. Not because he didn't love everyone, he does, but because proximity even mattered to him. Third force, environment. This one hits hard because people love talking about discipline, and discipline absolutely matters. I'm not throwing that aside. I really do agree. You got to be a disciplined individual to make things work, but environment is often stronger than willpower. Put a healthy person in an unhealthy environment long enough and they will struggle. Put an average performer in an elite environment long enough and they'll rise. Why? Because environment is constantly programming you. Look at the greats. Kobe Bryant, he intentionally surrounded himself with greatness. Every moment he could, he would call Michael Jordan like at the most random times in the middle of the night, right? Because he was always trying to put himself around great people. Michael Jordan, he surrounded himself with greatness. Elite performers don't accidentally end up in elite rooms. They seek them out. They pay for access. They travel for access. They make sacrifices for access. And that is probably one of the things that I can't help everyone, but there's people I'll get on the phone with, and there's those that are just ready. They're ready to pay for my mentorship, get in the right room, be surrounded by an incredible community that I've built. And then there's others that are like, oh, no, that's too big. That just costs too much to get in that room. I'll probably just, go my route. Years later, that person is in the exact same place. But yet the people that never saw these rooms as a cost and saw them as an investment, and that they're making an investment in them and allow them to be in the right rooms, has changed everything. How do you view that? Because they understand something. I want you to think about this that most people don't. Average becomes impossible when excellence is your daily environment. I've always believed, show me your environment and I'll show you your future. And environment isn't just physical. It's the rooms you're in. It's the people you're around. It's the books you read. If you're watching me on YouTube, you can see a little bit of my backdrop, but there's books all over. I'm always reading. It's the podcast you listen to. When you're at the gym, are you just listening to music? I'm not saying it's bad if you do, but wouldn't that be an awesome time to listen to a podcast? Or while you're driving to the gym, be listening to a podcast that's like getting you around someone close? It'd be amazing. So think of even the content you consume, the standards you see every single day. The question isn't whether your environment is influencing you. The question is it influencing you in the direction you want to go? And that's what I really want you to think about as you're like, whatever you're embracing, whatever you're being around. Which way is it forcing? Which way is it pushing you? Is it pushing you to rise to the top? Or is it keeping you mediocre or worse, like regressing and going backwards? Because your environment is programming you whether you're aware of it or not. Now, the fourth and final force is standards. And honestly, this may be the most important one. And I think about this all the time from my own life. It was when I would commit to standards that the change that I was looking for, that's when it would take place. Everybody has goals, and I want you to think about this, but very few people have standards. Goals are what you want. Standards are what you'll accept. Two people can have the exact same goal. Let's say they both want to build $1 million business. One accepts excuses, one accepts execution. One accepts inconsistency, one demands excellence. One accepts missed commitments, one keeps promises to themselves no matter what. It's the same goal, but different standards. It's a different future for each one of them. That's why one of my favorite principles is this: you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your standards. Let that sink in. The life you currently have is perfectly aligned with the standards you've been willing to tolerate. That's a hard truth. I get it, but it's also empowering because if standards created your current reality, higher standards can create your next reality. When standards rise, everything rises. And I want you to really think about that. Your health rises, your leadership rises, your confidence rises, your business rises, your marriage rises. Everything changes when you're willing to tolerate change. You have to be able to be willing to change. If you're willing to change, that's when real change takes place. So let me leave you with this. Imagine your life 5 years from now. Imagine the business, the marriage, the impact, the leadership, the person you're capable of becoming. Now ask yourself 4 questions. What conversations need to change? And please write these down. So what conversations need to change? What relationships need to be strengthened or released? What environment do I need to enter? And the 4th one is, what standards do I need to raise? Because your future isn't waiting on more talent. It's not waiting on more opportunity. It's not waiting on becoming better or better timing. It's waiting on better proximity. And remember, you don't become what you want, you become what you're around. That's the law of proximity. And here's the final thing that I want you to hear. The fastest way to change your life isn't changing your goals, it's changing what you're close to. Get closer to people with bigger vision. Get closer to rooms with higher standards. Get closer to mentors who challenge you. Get closer to people who make you uncomfortable in the best possible way. And then more importantly, get closer to God because proximity has a way of pulling you toward the future you're meant to live. The closer you get to the right people, the right rooms, the right standards, and the right source, the faster your life begins to change. And remember this, we're not just trying to build wealth. We're trying to also lead individuals, ourselves, our home, the people that are in our business. We're trying to lead them better, and we're trying to most definitely win at home. There's a quote out there that says, there is no success that can compensate for failure in the home. You must bring the home along with you in this journey. And one of the fastest ways to do that is change what you're close to. Thank you so much for being on this episode today. Hit the like button, leave a little review. It will help this podcast episode specifically get out to more listeners out there in this vast podcast world that we live in. And also, if there was someone that came to your mind when you were listening to this episode today, take a moment and do me a favor, share this episode with them and let it be something that will help bless their lives. Thank you again for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode.